C'est Larry in here.
Le troisième vient en 10 minutes.
Sam, should we wait until Larry gets there?
What was that guy over there? Boone or Jock or whatever?
We wore the same, it might be interesting, you asked about the medallion. We wore the same flight clothes that we wore last year. We wore the same, almost everything. The medallion was the same. The various good luck charms, the various symbolic medals that we had from last year were all on this flight.
As far as daily routine on the balloon, as far as the daily routine on the balloon, we did do a number of the same things daily, but it wasn't really worked out quite in a routine fashion. We normally slept about 4.5 hours, usually about 3 hours on watch, and then between watches, and then another hour and a half in the daytime if we could do it. We did try and eat 3 meals, and if we could, we made a hot meal, and we succeeded in doing that about 3 or 4 times.
May I suggest, sir, that we all fall back and take our seats and listen to you properly and correctly?
Very good. Bravo.
Déclaration générale, peut-être déjà cela répondra à un certain nombre de vos questions. Et ensuite, nous reprendrons les questions et les réponses lorsque notre ami Larry Newman sera arrivé, s'il n'est pas encore là.
Let me give you a brief summary that possibly will save 100 questions, and I'll stop so that the interpreter can give you that in short phrases so that you can get it straight the first time, hopefully. The 3 aboard the Double Eagle were Maxie Anderson, myself, Ben Abruzzo, and Larry Newman. This is the second flight of the Double Eagle. The first flight, as you may recall from last year, was Double Eagle 1, or just plain Double Eagle, and we landed off the northwest tip of Iceland. The second flight, as many of you know, all of you know, accomplished several things. 1, the first transatlantic crossing. 2, the longest time in the air for a balloon. We beat the previous world's record by some 32 hours, I believe, something in this order. The longest flight in history.
And let the interpreter when you get there.
Okay.
Go ahead, get there.
The longest flight in history, and the only flight, certainly, not only to fly to Europe, but to overfly Ireland, to overfly England, and to select our target in advance, much in advance, as far back as several months ago, and that target being the Eiffel Tower. We didn't quite get there, but we tried darn hard.
Traversé en ballon transatlantique. Ensuite, nous avions choisi à l'avance notre destination, qui était la Tour Eiffel. Ça, nous n'avons pas tout à fait réussi. Mais
I like what I said. It's a very, very beautiful language and a very beautiful country, and sand and lead to land with, and primary radio, the VHF, and the Atlas amateur radio, which we kept. But other than that, we threw everything over. We threw over our computers, little calculators, but they're really computers, the type we had. We threw over on track. We considered throwing over all of ABC's fine cameras. However, the reason we kept them is not because of the value, no. It was because the cameras could go over as ballast, landing ballast, just as easily as sand, except that it isn't quite as comfortable in that you have to let it go all at once rather than dribbling it out. But the flight went pretty much on schedule.
So the interpreter can catch up with us.
donc nous avons dû nous débarrasser, y compris quelque chose qui s'appelle le on-track.
I guess the problems really were not quite as severe weather-wise. Say we did have one problem where our hearts came up into our mouths. So we were off the Irish coast about a day and a half out, and things were looking very good, or just a day out. And we ran into a coal sink. The balloon sank from 23,000 feet down to 4,000 feet. And We knew we could keep it out of the ocean. There was no problem as to that. But if we expended too much of our ballast, then we would never make the evening ballasting, which was only 4 hours away, which meant that we would have landed off Ireland night before last and never crossed Ireland, England to France. And the patience and the sweating that we did, I believe, came from our experience of the prior year. And that was probably the toughest ordeal. To make a long story short, we did come down from 24,000 feet to 3,000 or 4,000 feet and went level, hung on for about 2 hours, and then enough heat from the sun in the afternoon warmed the balloon sufficiently that we climbed back to altitude. Impression that Larry was with us last year. Somehow or other we ought to get that straightened out. It consisted primarily of eating and sleeping, as all of us do. Sleeping is rather difficult on a balloon. During the night, if things are going well, the balloon flies very well, but at least half the nights we were in the air, we had some sort of problem. We iced up Wednesday night, if I can keep all these days straight, Wednesday night in the mid-Atlantic, and we couldn't understand why we were expending ballast. Ben was on watch till about 1:30, and I relieved him, and he said he had expended about 120 pounds of ballast. It's sort of like pouring the fuel out of your gas tank, and it's very critical to you on a long-distance flight like this is. And then in the next hour and a half, I expended a like amount of sand, and I was trying to search my mind as to whether we had a leak in the balloon, and if we did, where it was, and exactly what we would be faced with come the next morning. I allowed the balloon to slide down from 16,000 to about 13,500 feet, and we then went stable. And the reason was we were no longer accumulating ice. But of course, we didn't know this.
Option of going up and down very much. We can have the option from day to day, but not for every moment in time because of the nature of the system. We don't have fuel that we burn. We only have the helium to lift us and the ballast to hold us down, which is also what keeps us, it's essentially the fuel of a gas balloon. However, combining the up and down with ice, we said we flew directly over it as if to say to them that we show you. And they were on the ground watching us. Then they moved. I don't think there was anything significantly different that we did. Possibly we put the ingredients together a little.
Autant de latitude, autant de possibilités, du moins pas avec la même précision. Il faut donc combiner les mouvements verticaux, vers le haut et vers le bas, avec l'analyse logique des vents, de l'emplacement des vents, de leur direction, de leur rapidité également. Major Davis.
We would universally need something that was in the wrong drawer or in the wrong space, the hatch. And we would move all of our clothes or... Patty?
Give us a hug. Well done.
On camera.
Okay.
Excuse me for interrupting. We're going to have a presentation now by Mr. Gilles de Moreuil, who is Secretary General of the French Federation Aerostation.
En leur nom, le nom de notre fédération et la commémoration de leur exploit extraordinaire. Je voudrais remercier Monsieur Abruzzo, Monsieur Anderson et Monsieur Newman de leur exploit. Merci beaucoup. You're welcome. I didn't meet you last night because I just met your friend Maxie.
À l'arrivée maintenant des aéronautes américains et j'ai combattu aux côtés de l'armée américaine pendant la guerre et j'ai été désigné par l'Aéroclub de France comme commissaire général.
I hope you took a shower.
I can assure you he did.
Very nice. Very nice.
One last question. What are you going to tell the people back home?
What are we going to tell them?
When you're, yeah.
Well, we'll say about the same things that we've said to you. We'll add to it that we're thrilled to bring back to the United States another first in aviation. We think that's very important. The President of the United States has invited us to the White House on our return. The governor of our state, Jerry Apodaca, called this morning and gave us his warmest congratulations. And apparently everyone in the United States is very, very happy and very excited about it. So we will say about the same thing with the addition of that we brought it back home to you.
God bless.
I think that...
I'm sure.
He enjoyed it.
Did you say you pushed off?
We
Flipped the coin.
We flipped the coin.
What's your itinerary for today?
I'm not even sure where we are right now.
Well, the last 7 days of the rest of
We will be on the Today Show with ABC, and then we have a few other things to do. We do have to go back to the balloon to recover some of our personal items, including our passports, which are there somewhere, we hope, and see what's left of it. This gentleman from the French Balloon Society just told us that the people were so excited and they were trying to tear pieces of fabric away from the balloon and they didn't have anything to do it with, and they were chewing and biting at it with their teeth. So I think we have not much of a balloon left.
It's a very holy balloon at this point.
I would expect we will recover our individual items from it. It's absolutely collapsed into a sleep just as soon as we finished the one or two things we had to do.
That Ben he's an early sleeper. We went out to Maxime's and had some excellent French food.
Larry represented us.
By the way, a very interesting point. By the kindness of someone can help me count.
Je t'aurais embêté jusqu'au bout, hein, Adèle.